George Clooney recently shocked the world by claiming he and Amal have never had a single argument in 10 years. But while the cameras capture a perfect romance, behind the scenes, a different story is emerging involving separate lives, a secret move to France, and a silence that's finally being broken. In the glittering arena of global celebrity, we are conditioned to expect constant drama, public fallout, and messy tabloid headlines. Yet, for over a decade, the narrative surrounding George and Amal Clooney has been nothing short of an immaculate modern fairy tale. He was the world's most dedicated bachelor, the silver fox who swore he would never marry again, living a life of absolute luxury across his villas in Lake Como. She was the brilliant, striking, Oxford-educated international human rights barrister, representing state leaders and fighting for justice on the world stage. When they wed in a lavish Venetian ceremony in 2014, it felt like the ultimate union of Hollywood royalty and intellectual nobility. But when a couple presents a facade that is too flawless, a natural psychological reaction occurs in the public mind. We call it the perfection paradox. The more pristine a public image is, the more skeptical we become of the machinery operating behind the curtain. And when George stood in front of television cameras and insisted that they have never, not once, had a fight in their entire marriage, it did not comfort the public. It sounded the alarm. Because in the real world, absolute silence is rarely a sign of peace. Often, it is a sign of distance. To understand why this matters right now, we have to look at the sheer scale of this carefully constructed illusion. We live in an era where celebrity relationships are treated as highly valuable commercial brands. A perfect marriage is not just a personal achievement. It is a multi-million-dollar asset that secures endorsements, public speaking engagements, and high-profile philanthropic support. For years, the Clooneys have navigated this high-stakes environment with unmatched grace. Their charity, the Clooney Foundation for Justice, hosts star-studded global galas attended by the world's elite. They are seen as a unified front, the gold standard of what a powerful, mature couple should look like. But when you look beneath the surface of this idealized union, the logistics of their daily existence paint a far more complex picture. Marriage counselors and relationship experts have long pointed out that zero conflict is not a realistic metric for a healthy, growing partnership. In fact, total harmony can often be a red flag, indicating a relationship where difficult truths are actively avoided, emotions are compartmentalized, or the partners have simply built lives so independent of one another that their paths rarely cross enough to cause friction. When you have unlimited financial resources, you can easily outsource the very things that cause average couples to argue. You do not argue about chores because you have housekeepers. You do not argue about parenting stress because you have a fleet of professional nannies. You do not even argue about personal space because you can simply retreat to an entirely different wing of a massive estate or fly to a different country altogether. But wait, what if the distance between them isn't just measured in separate rooms, but in entirely separate continents? Around April of 2025, the ultimate test of their relationship arrived. George was embarking on what was arguably the absolute pinnacle of his artistic career, his highly anticipated Broadway debut in New York City, starring in the stage adaptation of Good Night and Good Luck. The red carpet at the Winter Garden Theater was a spectacle of Hollywood greatness, filled with his closest friends and co-stars. Yet, as the cameras flashed and the crowd cheered, one critical seat in the front row remained conspicuously empty. Amal Clooney was nowhere to be found. In a moment that was supposed to be the crowning achievement of George's career, his wife of over 10 years was completely absent. George quickly brushed it off to reporters, claiming she was back home tending to their young children. But in a world where private jets are a standard mode of transport and wealth can buy any level of childcare, this excuse felt hollow. It was the moment the public realized that the perfect facade had cracked, exposing a chilling reality. The Clooneys were living separate lives, separated not just by miles, but by an expanding emotional gulf. Let us examine the actual statements that sparked this global wave of skepticism. During a high-profile media blitz, George Clooney repeatedly doubled down on the assertion that he and Amal have never had a single disagreement. He reiterated this to Gayle King on national television, and later shared the same sentiment on popular podcasts, chalking up their peaceful marriage to the fact that they met later in life. His explanation was that by the time you reach your 50s, you have already made your mistakes, you are no longer trying to win every minor battle, and you possess the maturity to let things go. On the surface, this sounds like sage, experienced wisdom. But let us apply some basic logic to this claim. Amal Clooney is literally a professional arguer. Her entire career, her intellectual identity, and her global reputation are built on her ability to dismantle opposing arguments, debate high-stakes legal issues under intense pressure, and stand her ground in the face of international opposition. To suggest that a woman of her formidable intellect and argumentative training simply turns off that part of her brain the moment she walks through the door is highly improbable. In any relationship where two highly successful, strong-willed individuals coexist, healthy friction is inevitable. When that friction is entirely absent, it suggests a dynamic where one of two things is happening. Either the relationship has transitioned into a highly polite, business-like partnership where emotional intimacy has been traded for logistical convenience, or the couple has mastered the art of living parallel lives. When your schedules are so packed that you are constantly traveling for international legal trials, movie shoots, press tour, and board meetings, you rarely have the time or the proximity required to develop real, day-to-day irritation. The absence of conflict is not proof of connection. It is proof of compartmentalization. This compartmentalization became glaringly obvious during George's extended stay in New York for his Broadway show. For months, George was stationed in the heart of Manhattan, dedicating himself entirely to the rigorous schedule of theatrical rehearsals and live performances. Meanwhile, Amal's global legal work kept her anchored in London, Geneva, and various international courts. When a spouse misses a major career milestone under the guise of parental duties, it triggers an immediate investigation into the underlying logistics. The couple shares 8-year-old twins, Ella and Alexander. To suggest that an international legal powerhouse like Amal, who routinely balances world-altering human rights cases, could not arrange to attend a single opening night in New York because of childcare issues is a stretch that even the most loyal fans struggled to accept. This absence signaled a deeper truth about their relationship model. Over the years, the Clooneys have established what can only be described as separate orbits. They do not operate as a traditional unit. Instead, they manage two distinct empires. George's world is one of creative pursuits, Hollywood nostalgia, and high society entertainment. Amal's world is a serious, high-stakes battleground of international law, geopolitical conflict, and intense intellectual labor. As time has gone on, these two worlds have seemed to drift further and further apart. The physical distance between George's apartment in New York and Amal's bases in Europe is symbolic of a deeper, structural shift in their marriage. They are two highly independent sovereigns who have realized that the easiest way to avoid conflict is to simply avoid sharing the same physical and emotional space for extended periods of time. This leads us to the most fascinating chapter of this evolving saga, the French exit strategy. In late December of 2025, a quiet announcement was published in the French government's official gazette that sent shockwaves through both the political and entertainment sectors. George, Amal, and their twins had officially been granted French citizenship. This was not just a casual secondary residency. It was a formal naturalization, a definitive legal step toward shifting their primary life away from the United States. The backdrop for this move is the Domaine du Canadel, a stunning, multi-million-dollar 18th century estate situated in the quiet village of Brignoles, deep in the heart of Provence. On the surface, George has framed this relocation as a desire to raise his children away from the toxic paparazzi culture of Los Angeles and the relentless glare of Hollywood. He spoke passionately about wanting his kids to grow up on a farm, surrounded by olive trees and vineyards, away from the constant comparisons to other celebrity children. But there is a much deeper, highly strategic undercurrent to this move that goes beyond simple privacy. In recent years, Amal's work has placed her in direct conflict with major global powers, including controversial involvements with international court warrants that have drawn ire from political factions in the United States. Some reports suggest that Amal faced potential political friction and even legal pushback within the U.S. due to her high-profile human rights advocacy. The move to France and the acquisition of dual French-American citizenship represents a protective shield. It is a legal and geographical barrier that secures her safety and independence, while allowing George to retreat into a quiet, rustic lifestyle. But while a beautiful French estate can serve as a sanctuary, history shows it can also act as a golden cage. The decision to retreat to a massive estate in the French countryside carries a heavy historical weight in Hollywood lore. One cannot look at the Clooneys purchasing a sprawling Provence vineyard without drawing direct parallels to another legendary Hollywood couple, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Years ago, they too sought refuge from the paparazzi by purchasing a massive French estate, Chateau Miraval. They too presented an image of global humanitarian excellence, a perfect union of beauty, power, and high-minded ambition. They used their French sanctuary as a shield to protect their children and project an image of absolute harmony to the world. Yet, as we now know, behind the closed gates of that French chateau, an incredibly toxic and explosive dynamic was festering, eventually leading to one of the most bitter, litigious, and public divorces in modern history. The French countryside, with its vast acreage and high walls, provides the perfect environment to hide the cracks in a relationship. It allows a couple to maintain the illusion of a shared life while actually living in separate wings, interacting only when necessary. This is the danger of the perfection paradox. When you're forced to maintain a public narrative of absolute bliss, the pressure to hide any sign of trouble becomes immense. The French estate becomes a fortress, keeping the public out, but also keeping the partners trapped within an artificial narrative of their own making. Ultimately, the truth about George and Amal Clooney's marriage is likely far more nuanced than either the cynical rumors of a split or the polished narrative of a fight-free fairy tale. What we are witnessing is the quiet evolution of a high-profile partnership that has realized the traditional rules of marriage do not apply to them. By choosing separate orbits, maintaining independent careers, and retreating to the secluded hills of southern France, they have constructed a life where conflict is systematically engineered out of existence. But as they settle into their new lives as French citizens, the world will continue to watch, wondering if this grand exit strategy is a genuine path to lifelong peace, or simply the final, elegant curtain call on a beautifully staged illusion. If you want to understand the hidden dynamics of other Hollywood elite who walked away from the spotlight to save themselves, watch the video on your screen right now, where we break down the shocking secrets behind the industry's most mysterious departures.